Ever since 2008, Airbnb has offered a new way for people to get a roof over their heads while they're exploring new parts of the world. Whether you want a whole house to yourself or just a room in a quiet corner of the city, this little website's got you covered. But I've always wondered, how does Airbnb really stack up against regular hotels? Is it the way of the future, or does the old-fashioned room service in a hotel approach still come out on top? It's time for the ultimate vacation accommodation showdown, guys. Let's kick things off with the benefits of Airbnb. So one thing's for sure, the peer-to-peer service has hotels beat when it comes to price. That's mostly because Airbnbs aren't taxed like regular commercial rentals. You're basically just connecting directly with the landlord, so a lot of fees that can come up with hotels don't apply here. What this means is that you can save a lot of dough by opting for an Airbnb, especially if you're trying to look for the cheapest places available. Things get even better if you're traveling with a large group. And I mean, what's the point of going on vacation if you can't share the experience with your friends? With Airbnb, groups of 3 or more can save a ton because you can just rent an entire house and get your own rooms. That's simply not possible with hotels, since you'd have to book accommodations separately and you'd miss out on all the communal vibes that come with staying at the same place. Oh, and folks, if you're planning on staying for 3 or more nights, Airbnbs are a great choice. Not only do some rentals offer discounts for extended stays, but you'd also feel like you're coming home after a day of sightseeing instead of the rather depressing vibe that some hotels can have. Don't get me wrong, plenty of hotels are comfortable as all get out, but returning to an actual house or an apartment, at home, that just hits different. Airbnbs also tend to have a lot more variety when it comes to accommodation styles. You have everything from quaint little shacks by the beach to sprawling mansions, so you can pick whatever floats your boat. Not to mention, hotels usually don't have kitchens. Like maybe super fancy schmancy ones do, but most of the time, all you get is an electric kettle and a minibar, and that's if you're lucky. With Airbnbs, you can get a fully functioning kitchen, which bring their own fair share of advantages. For starters, cooking for yourself can help you save even more money, and it's also just plain fun to prepare a meal with your loved ones while on vacation. Okay, I've kind of covered a lot of the disadvantages of hotels so far because they don't offer any of the plus points for Airbnbs that I mentioned. But of course, Airbnbs aren't perfect, so let's get into some of the downsides of using the service. First thing first, hotels will never cancel on you, unless there's some kind of crazy emergency, of course. With Airbnbs, the host can just decide to cancel at the last minute, and there's nothing you can do about it. Sure, you'd probably get your money back, but that doesn't change the sheer hassle of having to book a new place, now does it? Also, let's be real. Some of the hosts can kind of be rude at best and downright creepy at worst. I mean, there's a review system for a reason, but how often have we seen examples of hosts straight up gaming the system? On top of that, checking into an Airbnb sometimes isn't as easy as checking into a hotel. There won't be a front desk to pick your keys up from. You might need to drive across town to get them from the host if they don't feel like making the trip. Again, you can leave a bad review if you like, but that won't change the negative effect this would have on your trip. Now, I'm not trying to be a hater here. These are just things to keep in mind about Airbnbs. A good rating doesn't always guarantee a good experience, and you can't expect the same level of customer care as you would with a hotel. And then there's an issue with a lot of hidden fees. Airbnb has cracked down on this plenty of times, but hosts will be hosts, and they often try to get you to pay for things that you shouldn't be your responsibility. Like so many Airbnbs that I've checked out had cleaning fees that weren't even mentioned anywhere, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. Some Airbnbs ask for so-called background check fees, which they conveniently bury deep in the house rules that no one would even know they exist. Like you're not exactly taking that much money, but these are just needless expenses at a time when vacations are already super pricey. To be fair, this technically goes against Airbnb's terms of use. You can just report the host to a service if they try to charge extra, right? Well, Airbnb says that any charges included in the house rules are actually allowed though, so that's actually surprising because their terms of service clearly state that hosts can't ask for extra money, but their customer support team seems to have a different rulebook. These sorts of incidents aren't super uncommon, but the fact that you have to worry about it at all is concerning to say the least. Finally, we have to talk about those house rules some more because they can sometimes be a little cuckoo. Like some hosts ask guests to use the thermostat, which is wild because, of course, you'd want to turn the AC on if it's hot outside, right? Oh, and if you ever find an Airbnb that offers a heated pool for an extra charge, you'd better proceed with caution. I've seen situations where the host told guests to steer clear of the pool, even after they paid the added fee. In some cases, vegetarian hosts told guests that they couldn't eat meat in the house, and others won't even let you order yourself some food. To make things worse, some Airbnb hosts have asked guests to pet sit for them also. Some have a ridiculous list of chores you have to complete, and a few even have house rules about quiet hours. Imagine being on vacation having to stay quiet at certain times of the day, right? Clearly, Airbnbs can be a pain to deal with if you're not careful, and it's safe to say that none of these issues come up with actual hotels. Speaking of which, now let's talk about the upsides of hotels. Right off the bat, hotels let you store your luggage in the lobby. Most Airbnbs don't even have a lobby, although some hosts are nice enough to help you out with stuff like this. However, there's that kind of part of the problem here. It depends from host to host, but that's not something you'd worry about with hotels. A quality establishment guarantees good customer service, so things like this just won't be an issue. As for the quality of your experience, that guarantee comes in clutch once again. Of course, if you go to a seedy little hotel in a bad part of town, you're bound to have a bad time, but stick to the high-rated hotels and you're as good as gold. And if there's anything wrong with your room, like if the shower, heating, or anything else doesn't work like it's supposed to, hotel staff won't waste time getting it fixed. They have a reputation to uphold and hundreds of guests rely on them, so they take these types of things seriously. Housekeeping is yet another plus point here, and there won't be any hidden fees involved either. You don't have to clean your room. Instead, you can just leave it as messy as you'd like, and a trusted cleaner will make sure it's spick and span again in no time. Oh, and when it comes to safety, hotels are just on another level. If your belongings get stolen at an Airbnb, there's only so much a host that can do to help you, even if they try. With hotels, there are security cameras, guards, and accountability for all staff. No one would dare steal from you, and if they do, it's pretty much guaranteed that they won't get away. Safety isn't the only benefit here though. Good hotels offer all-you-can-eat breakfasts, which make up for the lack of kitchens in my opinion. Now, room service is a bit of a mixed bag for me because it can sometimes be too expensive most of the time. But even so, it's a convenient option to have, and you might be able to splurge if you can afford a hotel anyway. In the end, there are pros and cons to both options, so it depends on what type of traveler you are. For super cheap, rustic accommodations, Airbnb is your best bet. Just keep some of those issues I talked about in mind, because they can seriously ruin your trip. It's not like you can take a vacation every day, so sometimes spending a bit of extra for hotels is worth it. And the benefits of hotels are hard to deny. You can get a truly luxurious experience, enjoy comfort and safety that Airbnbs just don't offer, and there's no chance of running into an annoying host. But at the same time, you'll have to pay through the nose of a hotel room, so whatever you do, choose wisely.